Good morning, everyone. I hope you all had a good weekend, and I wish you all the best of luck on this last week of the quarter. Today, I will be interpreting a dream that I had this past Monday morning, and we'll be focusing primarily on the principle of waste, which should reveal itself pretty clearly, but I will indicate once I have talked about it just to make it as clear as possible for everyone. I also think there is an overall message of change here, but it all depends on how I move forward after reflecting on my narrative. I have understood this process of developing and understanding my narrative psychologically by reflecting on my life, exploring my subconscious mind, as I will be doing today, and working on ways to better manage those things in my life that do not serve me in a productive way. Or at minimum, by keeping those harmful things in check, kind of like plucking weeds from a garden. So here goes nothing. Interpreting my dream, inspired by Mr. Jung. So, okay, so we start with a train. There's a train, and on this train are family, friends, getting off at different stops in different groups. I find myself not wanting to get off these stops with different friends and groups and people. One of my friends panic. One of my friends panic and tells me this is my last chance to ever get off the train with them. I panic as well and ask the bus driver if this is so. I upset the driver because he had already stopped and my friends had apparently already boarded off the train. I had missed a stop regardless. And I feel like this represents the random factor that exists in life, the factor of chance, fate, whatever you'd like to call it. So the driver stops again for me, staring at me, annoyed, and allows me to get off, which is pretty typical of me because I tend to be annoying. I'm just kidding. Even my brother gets off at his own stop, followed by his own posse, esteemed as they believe themselves to be. But still, I go my own way, and that's no disrespect to my brother. Rightfully so. But still, I go my own way. One interesting thing I noticed was my childhood friends getting off at different stops, meaning different passengers had different distinctions. Some friends were rebellious, they didn't work, they lived off the rails, so to speak. They were free, so to speak. Others lived and had fun, but worked for it. It came at a cost. And they either settled down with family or turned to a traditional working, normal adult life. Still, I went my own way. So we were together, but I felt isolated. I felt different, like I was on my own wave. And so I owned it. Not because it was easy, but perhaps because there was no better choice for me. So I get off and find myself back home in LA, surrounded by it all, exploring life, living it, understanding it, or trying to, coping, living, growing, question mark, exploring, interpreting on my own. I was even taking pictures, engaging in photography, which is something that feeds my soul, something I'm probably currently missing. I was following my instincts, tuning into my own frequency, even though it breeds isolation at times, it is still quite empowering. As I lay awake thinking about my dream, I felt and still feel this is my narrative. Life goals shaping the choices I've made, accumulating, and leading up to this moment in time. Though I'm not sure where I'm going at times, and I often feel lost, confused, upset, and alone, I'm here, and I've got to be here for some reason. We all do, right? So it might be best for me to stop with this confusion and just being a bummer and instead try to keep going. If not for myself, then for everything and everyone else. But I think most importantly for myself, right? So it was a weird dream, but it seemed pretty accurate and pretty real. And I think it came at a time where I may have kind of needed it, um, which is a lot about what Carl Jung describes interpreting dreams to be like for people. Um, can be therapeutic, I guess. But now I'm here to share it all with you, hoping that you find it somewhat inspiring. So just to wrap up a bit, a title I came up with for this stream is reassurance. I feel like my narrative and I dance a fine line between insignificance and empowerment. Perhaps there is value in both, certainly in the latter, but the former would be the challenges that I face with this realized power of empowerment, the costs associated with the benefits, if you will. I think this, in essence, is the narrative of my life, or at least the narrative that I deal with, or perhaps impose on myself. Either way, it is certainly an empowerment that comes with its own set of challenges. And perhaps that's just the way things are. And it's up to me or us on whether or not we'd like to persist and or be up for that challenge despite and be up for, I guess, life despite the challenges. This way of living can have polarizing effects, some of which can be quite dark. And the dark is okay, I think I've come to learn. It can be a side worth exploring and or entertaining itself, but is also something worth keeping in check and handling with caution. Perhaps extreme caution. This brings me to how I understand this process ecologically. Like weeds in the grass, I believe these intrusive, weed-like thoughts can become invasive and take hold of those things that make us so great and valuable and special, and that make life so worth living, so worthwhile. So this, I believe, acknowledges the principle of waste. Regardless, it could all be BS, but maybe not. And I really think this is what my narrative and life is all about. I, and perhaps we, will never know unless we try. And that's it. Thank you, and have a nice day.